Hey guys, welcome back to University of Pattern Drafting. My name is Umo. So as promised earlier on my Instagram page, I am going to be doing a tutorial on this tuber kimono. And by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you head on to Instagram right now and follow at University of Pattern Drafting. So I said I was going to do a full tutorial of this tuber kimono. So here it is. So first off, I'm assuming that this brown paper is my fabric. As you know, I'm a pattern maker, so we rarely work with fabric except Teru fabric. So I'm assuming this is my fabric. I folded it into 4, as you can see. So let's proceed. So first off, mark your bust point line, mark your waistline, and then proceed to mark your hip line, which is what you can see me marking right now, and rule out all of the horizontal lines. So the next step is to work on our neckline. So we're going to be drafting the back neckline first. And I'm using 4.25 by 1 inch for the back neckline. I'm sorry you cannot see this. The camera just didn't capture this bit. But you can see it right now. 4.25 by 1 inch is what I use for the back neckline. We'll draft the front neckline later. So now let's proceed to draw out our full width of the kimono, and I'm using 23 inches. I hope that is clear. I've proceeded to draw that line, 23 inches. Now for your armhole depth, right? Your armhole depth is going to be 0.75 inches below your waistline. So I've gone ahead to label those lines: bust point line, waistline, and then hip line. So we would come back to the armhole depth, but first off, let's impute our arc measurements. Now remember, arc measurements are circumference measurements divided by 4. So my bust arc is my bust circumference divided by 4. Now for this kimono, because it's a bit loose, we're adding 2.5 inches to the arc measurement. So for example, my hip arc plus 2.5 inches is what you can see me marking here, and I'm going to mark exactly what I marked on my hip arc, on my hip line, on the hemline as well. So I'm just using my straight ruler to connect the hip line to the hemline, and I'll rule out my hemline as well before I proceed to now work on the armhole area. Now I'm just connecting from my hip line to that 0.75 inches that I marked under my waistline. Remember I said the armhole depth should be 0.75 inches below your waistline. So that's where it is, and that's where I've marked. I'm sorry you cannot see this, but you would see it subsequently. I would show you what it looks like. So I've just connected it with a curve. That's essentially what it is. Now remember, this is a two-way design. It's a kimono as well as a dress. So because it's a kimono, we're going to be opening up the front, and you can see me marking 1.25 inches from the center front. So I've marked 1.25 inches from the center front, and I'm going to crop it off. But first off, I'll rule out that line. So that's 1.25 inches away from my center front. So after doing that, I will just crop this off. Now we'll proceed to work on our front neckline. Remember that this is our front and back. Essentially, there's no seam on the shoulder. So for my front neckline depth, I used 1.25 inches below the bust point line. That's what I'm going to be using in this situation. So I'm cutting out my back neckline. Apologies for the positioning of the camera, but you'll see what it looks like at the end of the day anyways. So I'm cutting out my side seam. Remember that because it's a kimono, because it's free, right, I added 2.5 inches ease to my arc measurement. So I'm cutting out the armhole. You can see what the armhole looks like actually. So you can see what it looks like now. Just connected from the hip line to 0.75 inches below the waistline. So I'm just cutting out everything. Now I've separated the papers. I've separated the front from the back, and I'm proceeding to cut out the front neckline. As you can see, there's no seam on the shoulder. So this is what it looks like. This is the full thing. This is the full pattern. So from your shoulder, your neckline width on the shoulder, mark 10 inches, and from the 10 inches mark 2.5 inches. I hope this is clear. So this is that line that you can see me drawing down. So 10 inches from your neckline width, and then 2.5 inches from that 10 inches, both for the front and for the back. So what we're trying to create here is that fold that you can see on the shoulder. That's what we're trying to create. So now I'm going to go ahead and fold along these lines that I drew. So first off, you crease along the 10-inch line. That's that one that is 10 inches from the neckline width, and then fold it to that second line that is 2.5 inches away from the 10 inches line. I really hope this is clear. Like, I really hope this is clear, but I'm sure this is clear though, because I'm going to say it again. So the first line was 10 inches from the neckline width on the shoulder, right? There's no shoulder seam, but at least there's a shoulder. So on the shoulder, mark 10 inches away from the neckline width, and then from the 10 inches you mark 2.5 inches, and you can see me flipping it inside out. So essentially, if this was fabric, I would have flipped it inside out. This would have been the wrong side that I flipped it to. So first off, notch your shoulder so that you can easily just identify where to fold along. So this is what the fold looks like inside, right? This is the inside. This is assumed to be the inside of the garment. So now let's proceed to work on the sleeve area. Now remember that this garment has, like, it seems like it has two sleeves. Now it seems like there's a firm sleeve and then there's the other sleeve that seems to be cut together with the bodice of the garment. So for the firm sleeve, you can see me marking 10 inches from my shoulder line. Now notice how I am doing this. So this is 10 inches from my shoulder line, and you can see that I eliminated the fold at that area, right? And I'm just going ahead to connect it back to where the armhole originally stopped. Now the essence of doing it like this, and you can see that I used a curve to kind of connect it, this is because there's a bit of a cowl at that area, right? That's on the underarm area. So I'm just trying to create that effect. So this is essentially what it should look like at the end of the day. So I've opened it up. When you open this up, this is what you should have, right? So now let's proceed to create the facing for the opening of the kimono, right? So you have to go from the center back and measure all the way down to the hemline in front, right, to get the length of the facing that you're going to be using. Facing or taping, I think it's supposed to be called taping. So mine, I think, is the full length is like 70 inches. So we've gone ahead to transfer the pattern, and this is actually for a client. So this is the line. Can you see the line? That's the 10-inch line, and the second line is the 2.5 inches line. So by the time you pleat that, you have that pleated effect on the shoulder. Now the pocket should be at least about 3 inches below that armhole line. So I think the pocket can start from about 3 inches below the armhole line, right? And this is the front and back. Now the client can decide whether she wants to have a seam on the shoulder or not, but this is essentially what it looks like. This is the front as well as the back. The back is going to be cut on fold, and then the front is open, and we're going to be facing it. So we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you learned a lot. If you learned, please ensure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to the channel at this point, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And then, by the way, for that taping that I spoke about, this is the taping. It is 2.5 inches wide. Now they are going to cut theirs on fold. As you can see, it's going to be cut on fold. So essentially, you should have 5 inches by that length that you took, right? Remember, mine was 70 inches. 70 divided by 70 times 2, that should give me 140 inches. So I should have 5 by 140 inches. That's the length of my taping, and it's going to be sewn all the way from the front hem all the way through the back, center back, to the other side of the front hem. And this is my pocket pattern. This is a pattern, so you have to send out all the complete pattern pieces. I hope you loved these things. For watching. Ciao, guys.